How's it going, family? Powerful I am. It's your main guy, 50 the Mystic. We just started the series on the death of Jesus, taking it through, interpreting everything verse by verse, breaking it down in a way that makes practical sense for ourselves in our own lives, and how we can use these. I think this verse in itself will be familiar to a lot of you. Not in terms of it being in the Bible, but how many of us have had moments where we thought God forsaked us. Whatever you call it, Allah forsaked you. Your higher self forsaked you. Your ancestors forsaked you. The infinite intelligence forsaked you. Depends on whatever you call it. Your higher consciousness. What is it to you? Personalize it to what you believe it to be. But there's one eternal truth. It lives within you. Now let's get into Mark 15, verse 34. And at the ninth hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama, sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? You know those moments where you are at your lowest, when life has beaten you to a pulp, and you just have no punch left in you, and you just surrender and let things go, which is the whole point, actually. The longer you fight to control, the longer the suffering endures. But let's get into deciphering it. The scripture talks about the words, my God, why have you forsaken me? They are spoken in a very profound, symbolic way. This moment represents the confrontation with perceived separation from the source itself. You literally think you and the source are two separate beings, but the source is within you. The source creates through you. It is the collapse of external support and the acute awareness of vulnerability at the deepest level. The cry embodies the human experience of isolation, spiritual testing, and the pressure of ancestral inherited burdens. It is the moment when the outer mind feels abandoned, yet the inner transformation is being catalyzed. The repetition of my God, emphasizes the dual recognition of both personal divinity and collective connection. This is the inner self acknowledging that the highest principle resides within, even when it feels absent externally. The question, why have you forsaken me, symbolizes the tension between ego and true self. The point where the old identity and external dependence are stripped, revealing the inner source that was always present. This is not despair for its own sake, but a crucible of clarity, where the illusion of separation is fully experienced so that it can be transcended. Darkness here is internalized. The land of consciousness is no longer illuminated by certainty, control, or expectation. Every aspect of thought, emotion, memory, and inherited pattern is exposed to raw experience. The verse teaches that transformation often requires facing the sense of abandonment before recognition of unity and higher order emergence. It is the echo of the soul's testing ground, the necessary confrontation with perceived disconnection before resurrection of awareness. Are you able to overcome this and understand? I was in the car earlier this morning. I was going to go buy bread. And I was just sitting in the car. And I watched a video somewhere. And then something popped through my head while I was just relaxing, waiting for the shop to open, was after gym. Something came across my mind. It's like, why have I been thinking source is separate from me this whole period? I just came to that revelation. Funny enough, it's part of the teachings that I'm delivering today. I came back and did this video later on after that realization. I was like, me and source are one. Like Jesus said, I and the Father are one. We are not separate. We are one. For the Father liveth within me. This symbolism reminds that the path of awakening demands endurance of apparent loss, silence, and emptiness. Because these are the spaces where the inner voice can finally speak without distortion. The cry is both human vulnerability and the herald of imminent alignment with the deeper law of consciousness itself. This moment reflects a profound event within the nervous system and the cognitive architecture of a world. The words, my God, why have you forsaken me?" indicate a peak of psychological and physiological stress. The body is getting hammered. The mind is getting hammered. You have no choice. You're trying to figure out which way to turn. What should I do next? Should I do this? Should I do that? But all this frantic stress is actually prolonging the suffering in itself. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning, judgment, and narrative control, experiences temporary overload as the mind confronts perceived abandonment. Cognitive frameworks built on understanding, belief, or external validation fail to contain the experience, forcing awareness to turn inward. Simultaneously, the limbic system, the center of emotion, memory, and survival instincts, is activated intensely. Fear, grief, ancestral patterns, and instinctual reactions surge, making the experience somatically heavy. The body mirrors this internal storm. The heart may race, muscles tense, breath becomes erratic, and energy withdraws from outward engagement. This is the nervous system signaling that the usual coping mechanisms are insufficient. I remember there was a peak time during December where things were a bit heavy in business. Losing my mind, no work coming in, everything just went quiet. I had fallen into a cycle of drinking a bit again, well, until I had a dream that, hey, it's time to get back on the horse now. It's time to stop drinking. It's time for us to work again. I thought Source was gone. But a voice came to me from my deep subconscious to speak to me. I was like, let's stop with this derailment that we're doing right now. It's time to focus again. It's time to go back into the inner world and stabilize the inner world. Been sober ever since that dream, focusing on rebuilding the temple again. The temple had collapsed, and we are rebuilding the temple now. The phrase represents the alignment of mind, body, and subtle energy under extreme pressure. The diaphragm, lungs, and vocal cords carry the sound of the cry, linking inner tension to expression. The spinal column and central nervous system act as conduits for both stress and eventual recalibration. Enduring this internal darkness allows the body to integrate intense emotional and ancestral imprints while preparing higher centers for coherent perception and insight. The reception of the cry also engages the temporal and auditory cortex, heightening focus and awareness. The nervous system is forced into sustained attention, training the body-mind to hold extreme states without collapse. This physiological pause is essential for transformation, teaching endurance and recalibration. Ultimately, this verse demonstrates that moments of apparent spiritual abandonment are mirrored in deep biological processes. Breakdown in cognition and motion is part of the system realigning itself. The body becomes a vessel for integration, the mind a field for recalibration, and the nervous system a conduit through which deeper coherence and higher perception emerge. This verse mirrors the universal principle that all systems experience moments of pressure and apparent abandonment as part of natural cycles of transformation. In nature, extreme tension often precedes change. Storms clear stagnant energy, forests regenerate after fire, and seeds remain buried in darkness before sprouting. The cry of feeling forsaken is the human reflection of this natural law. The internal ecosystem must endure tension, disruption, and apparent separation to reorganize and grow. The verse illustrates the principle of vibration and resonance. Every event in the universe follows precise rhythm and timing. The experience of abandonment triggers internal recalibration, like a pendulum returning to its center after being displaced. This is cause and effect in motion. The collapse of perceived support allows latent energy to rise and realign with higher order structures. Just as planets respond to gravitational forces or tides follow lunar cycles, consciousness is governed by immutable cosmic rhythms. The moment also reflects polarity, light and dark, presence and absence, unity and separation, are complementary forces. The human system requires both to reach coherence. The perceived forsakenness is necessary polarity, creating contrast so the awareness of true connection and divine alignment becomes meaningful. Without experiencing the shadow, the return to alignment would not be recognized. Additionally, this verse teaches that surrender to universal law is literally essential. Resistance to the tension, fear, or isolation only prolongs misalignment. Just let it all go. Let it all be. Feel it all. Process it all. Nature demonstrates that flow in itself cannot be forced. Storms pass, seeds germinate, cycles complete in their own time. Similarly, internal processes follow cosmic timing. Enduring the moment without interference allows recalibration, restoration of coherence, and preparation for reintegration with Source. Ultimately, this verse shows that human experience is inseparable from universal law. Apparent loss, silence, or abandonment is the natural mechanism through which consciousness, like all of nature, reorganizes, stabilizes, and emerges in alignment with higher order itself. This moment teaches a vital lesson for navigating your own personal life. Think of it in this way going forward. Periods of apparent abandonment, isolation, or confusion are part of natural and necessary recalibration. When circumstances feel overwhelming or support seems absent, it is not a sign of failure or permanent loss. Rather, it signals that the mind, body, and spirit are undergoing realignment. This calls for patience, stillness, and conscious endurance. One practical step is to create intentional pauses during moments of stress or uncertainty. Instead of reacting impulsively to fear or external pressure, slow your breath. Observe your emotions and allow your nervous system to stabilize. Journaling, meditation, or reflective silence can help anchor awareness and prevent reactive patterns from dictating behavior. The verse also emphasizes listening to your inner authority rather than seeking immediate validation from others. During trials, external guidance may seem absent, but your internal compass, the integration of reason, intuition, and high awareness, is still operative. Treat your inner voice as the ultimate authority. Make decisions from that place of grounded observation rather than from panic or instinct alone. Additionally, endurance through these moments strengthens resilience and alignment. Life's pressures act like natural laws shaping growth, just as storms fortify forests and rivers carve valleys. Periods of perceived abandonment build depth, clarity, and stability. Facing these moments consciously ensures that you emerge with wisdom, self-mastery, and a stronger connection to your purpose. In essence, this verse calls you to embrace tension without resistance, to allow the inner reorganization that discomfort catalyzes. By doing so, you transform moments of fear, isolation, or uncertainty into opportunities for alignment, coherence, and intentional action. Life becomes guided by law, rhythm, and inner clarity rather than by reaction, expectation, or external circumstance. Do you understand? The default programming here is to panic, stress, start doing anything under the moon and sun to try and get a response from the universe. Whereas in actuality, you're supposed to release and surrender it to the infinite intelligence Mudimu, Rama said, whatever you want to call it. Mudimu, Padimu, all of them. Release it. Recalibrate yourself. And watch everything suddenly restore itself. And as I say, at times, well, not even me, as my wife says sometimes, you'll end up finding yourself laughing about this one of these days. As difficult as it seems when you're going through these dark, pivotal moments. And as a preview for the next one, we'll be covering. I haven't written it down in the KJV here, but I can quickly bring it up instead of reading it here from my NIV Bible. I really need to get an older Bible, in all honesty. So yeah, Mark 15 verse 35. And some of them that stood by when they heard it said, Behold, he calleth Elijah. Let's get into this one in the next segment when we start off for our new week. Now I hope some of these teachings are helping some of you going through these dark, pivotal times. It is never over. Your comeback can come at any time. Have faith. Have faith in the inner voice within you. Have faith. Faith in itself and the authority that lives within you. Stay blessed. Stay safe, family. Until Sunday again.